Hit on the
Okay,
head.
so the
Reset.
million-dollar question that we've had from all of the people out on the internet right now is how we're doing post-Hurricane Milton. So quick round the room. Panda, how you doing?
Good. A little bit of water came through a wall, which shocked me. Wind-driven rain, but other than that,
Just like
it was just me.
projectile, like shot through the wall, or
No, like dripping from a wall, and it's like how'd that happen? But other than that, it was just scary. My big butt ran into the closet a few times.
Jeff, how are you doing?
We made it relatively unscathed. Like Panda, the tornado warnings were something I didn't have on my bingo card, and there were a lot of them, and I didn't like that. There was many times that we may have took refuge under the stairs, but we made it relatively unscathed. No damage.
Derek, I hate to ask you this because I know the answer.
Yeah. No, the most important thing is that our family and our friends came out, completely unscathed. So that's the most important thing. We did have a little bit of damage with a very old, tall oak tree that just decided about 4 a.m. You know what? I'm going to call it a night right on top of your roof. And just rested on top of the roof, scared the crap out of the dog. So we're going to need therapy for the next 20 years. But that's a whole other show. But most importantly, everybody's okay. No leakage, no flooding, no. So.
Exactly. You guys are okay. We're okay. Mm-hmm. We're moving on from Hurricane Milton. So goodbye, Milty.
Hello, Nadine.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show. I am your host, Paul Krieger, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely wife, Amy. How are you?
I'm great.
You're good?
Thanks for asking.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I survived the hurricane okay, too. Thank you.
I know that.
Checking.
I was right next to you the whole time. So, John Scary, a.k.a. Big Fat Panda, is with us.
Welcome home.
We got the one, the only senior sales associate for the DVC resale market, Derek DeBoer.
Hey now, happy Polynesian today. We're going to be talking all about the Polynesian, inside, outside. I'm just imagining myself right by the pool right now with my Trader Joe's shirt on.
There we go.
Trader Joe. Okay.
Trader Joe. I do that too, Derek.
For some reason, right now, when I click on Panda, when I click on Jeff, it goes to Panda. So
as it should.
I have no idea what's going on. Hey, there he is.
It's fine. I'm okay. Partner.
And the ever
We're
growing.
also in the corner there. Did you mean to do that?
What was that? Oh yeah, look at that. We're down in the corner. What is happening? That's me
in the corner.
I'm gonna blame Hurricane Milton for all of this right now. You know what? I know why. Because Jeff, that was when you went live during or pre-Hurricane Milton. And so I put us down in the lower corner. Jeff Cantori was live.
That was fun. That was a good time.
Pre-Hurricane. That was good. That was
the villagers seemed to love it too, so that was fun.
That was the best piece of anything we've put on the internet for a long time. So way to go, us.
Couldn't find a word to describe what this is.
I know. It's, you know what? I think it's been a day. It's been a week for all of us. Amy and I had a whirlwind of a start of the week because you'll notice there's a lot less nicks and knacks behind us now. We announced on the live stream that we're in the process of moving, selling the house, and all that kind of stuff. So we did pictures yesterday, and that's just very stressful. So, but anyhow, you guys aren't here to hear about our life problems and all that kind of fun stuff. You're here to hear about news. And we are talking all about the news that has been coming out of Disney Vacation Club over the past month. And there's a lot to talk about, especially with this crew talking about what has been going on at the Polynesian. I don't think together as a team, it's been like 3 weeks or so since we've been together. There's been a lot going on with the Polynesian, as well as a lot of other stuff that has been going on. As I still can't talk. Look at that. Just choking on my words today. But as always, this and all of our content is brought to you by the world of DVC, DVC Resale Market. If you're looking to buy or sell a Disney Vacation Club contract, they can assist with that. Monera Financial can help with financing that DVC Resale Market purchase, and the DVC Rental Store, where you can try before you buy, rent some points, rent out your own points, swap your points, any of those fun things. So as always, please continue to show some love for our sponsors over at the World of DVC. My mind is blown already from the intro of this show, and yet we are just getting started. But like I mentioned at the top of the show, we're talking all things Polynesian to kind of kick things off. And I want to go around the room first just to kind of unpack everyone's thoughts about everything that has come out recently. So since we talked last as a group, we've got point charts for the Polynesian. We've got pricing for the Polynesian, which came in at a whopping low $225 per point, which was lower than I think most of us predicted. I don't know if any of us accurately predicted that. Derek at one point was saying 300, I think. So we've got that. And as of today, we have bookings opening for owners of the Polynesian. So this is recorded back on October 15th. So Tuesday, October 15th. I know this will go up next Monday, but owners of the Polynesian can now book with their points. They do have to call DVC member services to do that. But all kinds of news that has happened with the Polynesian. Panda, you have said for a long time that the Polynesian would be your next DVC contract. So has anything surprised you about what you've heard from all of the news recently?
No, I'm getting more excited about it, and I see the people seem to feel real. Like from what I read today on Facebook, everybody's excited. It doesn't seem to be the eyesore that I originally thought. I'm coming along to it. I'm starting to like it a lot. It's exciting. I want to go badly.
Yep, we're gonna be there before you know it. We are basically coming up on
2 months.
2 months from the grand opening, which is hard to believe when you look at the building still, but it'll be here. And it's going to happen, and they'll be ready, and they'll shove 100 more construction workers in there, and they'll get it done on time. But Jeff, what thoughts have you had about the Polynesian since all this new news has dropped?
So when we were going live for the hurricane last week, I took some time to kind of walk as close as you can get, to the construction barriers, and we ate at Ohana that night and just kind of took in the Poly. My son had never been there, that's who I was with, and so we kind of spent some time. We went into Trader Sam's and just kind of had the whole Poly experience. I get more and more excited every time I go over there. The details they added to the outside, kind of that stencil look that they've got going on. Also, I went over to the preview center and toured the rooms, took some pictures and videos of that. That studio is hands down my favorite studio that Disney DVC has come up with. And it's got a dishwasher. It's got like a full kitchenette, just really pretty. The attention to detail was way exceeded my expectations. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. The video that you sent over for the model rooms over at Saratoga, those look amazing as well. I just, it can't wait to actually get in there and see it. I know we talked about it in some great detail before.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been that long since we recorded together. Yeah, saying all these things that happened in between there, and I was like, oh my goodness,
we've been to Spain and back.
I know. And had a hurricane and just everything. It's like a whole lifetime ago.
Yeah.
I was very surprised with the price per point direct. Obviously we were thinking it was going to be more in like the 230s or so, and there are some incentives, not a ton, but that bring that 225 down a little bit. So that's something that I thought was interesting. The dues is pretty reasonable because it's the same, amount that Polynesian currently is. And I wouldn't expect a very large increase next year. And then the point charts, pretty much in line with what we thought, especially when we compared them, to similar to the current longhouses, to Grand Floridian. They were pretty decent. So overall, I mean, if you are looking to buy direct and you want those, direct benefits or whatever, this is I think it's a great buy, because you get, it's the Polynesian, you can walk to Magic Kingdom if you wanted to, or hop on the monorail or hop on a boat.
Yep. As we are recording this show, like I said before, we're kind of mid-October. The end of the month is when sales are going to open for new members. So anyone that is new to Disney Vacation Club to add in. But right now, as Amy mentioned, current existing owners can add on. And I was actually pretty shocked by some of these incentives that they rolled out. They were more than I probably expected them to offer for this. So again, $225 per point starting price, but 150 to 199 points brings it down $10 per point. 250 to 299, which is probably, if you're looking to stay in those 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, you're probably looking at anywhere from 250 to 350 points. So $14 or $15 off per point for that. I didn't feel they had to be this aggressive with the incentives, but they were. And I think the big win for them is just sales are probably through the roof. I looked online this morning and they have not posted any of the deeds yet that have actually closed, which I imagine they're still working through that closing process. But I'm really curious as we get to the end of October to see like how many points they sell at the Polynesian this month, because October will be a true testament of that add-on sales, which I've talked about, I think, extensively on a lot of these shows recently, which is, I feel like a lot of the recent products that DVC has put out, they've not necessarily hit that demographic the greatest. There's not been as many people excited to add on at that resort, maybe since Grand Floridian, Big Pine Key. I think that had some interest, but some of these other resorts, the cabins at Fort Wilderness, you could even say Disneyland Hotel, I just don't know that they've seen the add-on sale numbers that they've seen with other properties. So that's going to be a big part of the sales of Polynesian. And so it'll be interesting to see just how many points they do just with existing members in the month of October. Derek, were you shocked at the fact that we had to retract 2 years worth of statements and basically say that, this was not part of the existing association?
That's the joke that will never die.
No,
the joke will never die. No, and I mean, I think overall that, I think we were kind of spot on with, pricing. I know we talk about it being, like in the 240s or like the 250s. But for me, it really kind of hit that point was Disney is going to make buku bank like they haven't in years and years and years on this product. Because Paul, you said it perfectly. All the other stuff that honestly has come out has not driven that member add-on business that is such a huge part of Disney Vacation Club's profit. So again, when they sell direct inventory, they get 100% of that profit, right? So for them, they know we're going to launch this, we're going to put it out, we're going to make buku. I've talked to my friends who are guides, and I've had guests reach out to me saying, Derek, do you have a guide? Because I reached out to my guide to add on, and he hasn't gotten back to me in days and days and days, because they're literally swimming in offers and swimming in people that are literally buying points. And again, they haven't had this in a long time because you don't have any of the restriction nonsense that, plagued the Riviera. You don't have anyone going, yeah, but I like it, but the cabins are far away, or I like it, but it's got restrictions, or I like it, but I don't go to Disneyland. With this, it's a slam dunk. It's the Polynesian. It's right there. The point charts are great. It is kind of funny because I was talking with my wife, Annie, today, because we're past October. So now we can start borrowing from 2025. So we can start booking our little staycations. And I was like, well, we can't book the new Poly yet, but should we do that when we can with our boardwalk points? And we both were kind of like, I can't wait to see it, but there's going to be something that I am going to miss about staying in a relatively, high-rise building versus the original Poly. As much as I love it, there's something about the Poly grounds with no taller than 3 stories and the tiki touches and the tiki torches and all the, landscaping and stuff. So I think it's great. It's going to be a win-win for everybody once they figure out the pool situation and the monorail situation. They've got to figure those out.
Yeah, those are very slippery slopes, and we've talked about the monorail situation from the Polynesian, but also from the Grand Floridian standpoint, which is kind of the last stop on the entire loop as you come around to the Magic Kingdom. So it's like it's going to get worse at the Polynesian, but I feel like
it needs to be dedicated cars. Grand Floridian.
100%, Amy.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if all of a sudden a monorail becomes a direct benefit. So it's direct members only.
And just to clear things up for those people that might be listening to us for the first time ever, Derek and I were joking at the beginning of that back and forth. The new Polynesian Island Tower is part of the existing Polynesian villas and bungalows. So whether or not you buy direct or you buy resale points, you're going to be able to use those points at the Polynesian and at the Island Tower. That is proven 100% as of today, because today was when current owners of the Polynesian could actually book. So it didn't matter what kind of ownership you had or what points you had. You called DVC today and you could book the Polynesian.
Mhm.
And I think just in kind of looking at the initial response from people that were calling in, people were having more success booking this thing than I
Yeah.
anticipated.
So our friend David got opening night in
Yeah.
a duo studio.
Yeah, whole week.
Which-
yeah, you
Yeah,
got the
which
whole week
was starting with the opening, but that's pretty impressive for
there. It was a little bit of a painful process
You
for
had to
most people
call.
this morning, because you did have to call. The online booking is not actually going to happen until bookings open for everyone, which, just to review kind of the key dates, some of these dates have passed at this point, but as of us recording this, we are sitting at that October 15th date. So current DVC members who already own at the Disney's Polynesian Villas and Bungalows will have the ability to book as of today. So that is happening right now, but you do have to call. Again, we talked about this earlier. Sales are going to open on October 29th to the general public. So new members looking to book. November 5th, those new members who did purchase will be able to start booking with their points, but you will have to call to do that booking. And DVC did clarify today completely that November 19th date, when all DVC members will be eligible to book, that is the day when we will be able to book online on the Disney Vacation Club website, barring any catastrophes with the IT and the technical team and all of that kind of fun stuff. And then December 17th, the grand opening, in which all of us will be there with bells on and exploring the resort, eating the food. You'll find Derek at the Moana splash pad most of the day. And we're just going to be having a good time, just covering everything about this new property. It is, I'm excited to do it with all of you guys, because, Amy and I have covered the last three openings kind of ourselves. Panda, you were with us for Grand Floridian.
Yeah, Big Pine Key.
So we kind of did Grand Floridian a little bit, but that was just like one small building. But this seems much bigger. We did Disneyland Hotel last year, and then Fort Wilderness Cabins felt like a half opening because there were only like 20 cabins.
Right. It was fun,
But I
though.
think this is going to be kind of the biggest Disney Vacation Club opening
Right.
since
We actually
Riviera.
had so much time during that opening that we went and kayaked
We did.
to burn time.
Yeah, we were like, what do you do? Oh, let's go on a kayak for 2 hours. It was Amy
Yeah.
really loved
Whereas
that
we
decision.
did Disneyland Hotel was a much bigger,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be rocking and rolling with doing all kinds of things, but it'll be fun to kind of explore that with all of you. Derek, yes.
I was just going to say that it was actually super cool today because I had a ton of members who added on Polynesian points months ago with us,
Mhm.
right? So they got crazy great prices. Maybe they added on a year ago, maybe they added on 6 months ago or 3 months ago, but their contract had obviously closed because it takes a little bit longer. So they were all able to email me and say, we got in, we booked for spring break, or we got in and booked, and we can't believe we got the price that we did, and we were able to book and stay in the new Polynesian Tower. So it's just so very, very cool to know that, people that do buy the Polynesian resale, you still have that, 11-month booking window. You're not treated any different when it comes to using the Poly or using the pools or using Trader Joe's or whatever it is you want to do.
Trader Joe's.
Jeff Haslam was using Trader Joe's last week, so
Well, and I that reminds me, because Derek is going to owe me a cut of his commission, because while we were sitting at Trader Sam's in the Grog Grotto, we met some people from Canada, and I just started slinging used timeshares because they come down here once a year. So I'm texting Amy like, do they do international things at Monera? And I'm doing all that. Like, I did all of Derek's work. So when they call, just cut me a check, man.
Jeff, have you thought about maybe swapping out some of your Old Key West points or anything?
I actually have. I've been going back and forth about it for a while. I love the Polynesian. It's one of my favorite resorts. We even had a good experience at Ohana the other night, which surprised me because the last 3 times have not been good. and I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. Check with me in 6 months when we get some other financial things taken care of, and
I want to go
we
back
might
to
have a
Ohana.
different story.
Yeah, we did that about a year ago.
Me
for your birthday,
too.
and it was a
was
very
good.
very good dinner.
I'll be honest with you guys. It was a hard sell because after the last time we went, I was like, never again. It was so bad. But
And
my
it's
son had never been, and it's Tatum's favorite place. I'm like, oh, fine.
really
And
in
it
the
was
review
actually really good.
circuit. Like, I mean, you listen to other vloggers out there, even our review. Like when we went there for your birthday, I think we completely went in expecting that it could be a very mediocre meal.
Yeah.
And it's either it's great or it's terrible, and they're rushing you out the door. And I wonder if it's like maybe the timing of your reservation. Like if you're there right in the middle of the chaos, then maybe it's not a good experience. But maybe if you get there early or you get there late, I don't know. I'm just making things up at this point.
There are so many variables with sous chefs, and you just never
I
know.
know. That's
Well,
true.
and we
that's
were there
anywhere.
for the fireworks. You saw them over my shoulder when we did
Mhm.
that video, but my family
Which
was
is
upstairs
late.
watching the fireworks from the dining room. So it was plenty busy, and it was still a really good meal.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's no coincidence the food got better after the Polynesian Tower went on sale. So
You may not be wrong, Derek.
timing is everything. I used to say that back during the Copper Creek days.
Bring out the good chicken.
Well, you bring out the good chicken, put in the best staff to run that resort at that time. Copper Creek felt that way when Copper Creek was on
Riviera.
sale.
I mean,
And,
you
yeah,
can see that in actively selling resorts. So, maybe it's stepping up.
they elevate it. They're repainting a bunch of
Mhm.
the longhouses. They got to put a roof on one of them. That's the most significant part of Milton
Yeah.
damage.
That
we've
was
heard.
scary looking. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the longhouses. Luckily, it was not
not
one of the
DVC.
DVC longhouses. So those of you out there worried about your annual dues going up, it's not going to impact annual dues. That the roof blew.
It was
blew
the
off.
hotel side. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the hotel properties.
I will say this about the meal. It could have been better than I was expecting because of the time we spent at Trader Sam's and then Tambu Lounge before that. I had plenty of Lapu Lapus to kind of dull the senses, so maybe.
Speaking of Trader Sam's, did anyone see the Madame Leota tiki mug that they released today? That's only coming to
Yes.
Disneyland. That
Oh,
Why? Why Disneyland? Stop it.
that
We
was-
want it too.
Yeah. Share the wealth. Speaking of bookings today, I thought something that was interesting that I've read mixed opinions on, and I've gotten a lot of kind of mixed feedback, is that so Polynesian owners that started booking today, there's been several reports of people within that. Derek, I think you mentioned this first. People that were booking a reservation within that 0 to 7 month window, that whoever they were speaking with member services was allowing them to use a different points contract. Now it's again, this is one of those things where it's very hit or miss depending on the cast member that you speak with. It does make sense logistically, being that, it is, and
a
I
7-month window.
I know you've told me this 3 times, and I prepped for it, and I'm going to butcher it.
Nope.
Never mind.
Opening priority window.
Can you explain to the listeners
so
what that means?
it's part of the public offering statement, I believe.
Yes.
And it's basically the DVC has the right during the initial opening period of a resort to enact an opening priority window. They did this with Riviera. They did this with Big Pine Key, where even though we're in the 7 to 11 month window, for example, December is in the 0 to 7 month window for outside resorts that don't own Polynesian. Even though we're in that, they can enact this opening priority window that only owners at the resort can book for a certain period of time to kind of preserve, because they're missing out on that 11-month window.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they kind of preserve that, and they did that with Big Pine Key as well, which worked out really well for us because that is what helped us get in opening.
Yeah.
But that's what is happening now. Technology wise, does that mean that they completely, shut off other resorts from booking within the 0 to 7 month window? Maybe not. Maybe just member services were instructed and some of them missed that, or you know what I mean? There are some inconsistencies with it. But the literature that came out, and you saw it on those dates that Paul put up, was that today was for Polynesian points only, existing owners.
Yep, exactly. So Again, it depends on who you talk to. We've even had Corey, who's one of the moderators on the DVC fan Facebook community. He even called in and was told no. We've had multiple people actually say yes and report yes. And I want to end that a little bit with just saying I have absolutely loved today watching everyone report their successful poly bookings over on the DVC fan Facebook group. It's just been like, yes, there's been technology hurdles, and yes, a lot of people didn't know that you would have to call to do the bookings today, and they were a little frustrated about that. And I'm sure member services, let's just, round of applause to the member services cast members today, because
sure they were stressed.
They were probably extremely stressed, and it was a very long day for them going through this, because wait times at one point got
over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours for some of these bookings. But just a lot of positivity coming out of this. That's kind of been my takeaway. And I know, Derek, you've shared some of that with us throughout the day as well.
Yeah, it's just so neat to be able to see that people, buy this. And maybe if you're using it for the very first time, to be able to say, wow, my God, I actually call. And a lot of people, it is strange, because some people I did hear it took, 2 hours. Other people would literally say, hey, so I picked up the phone, I called, I got right in, and I was able to book exactly what I want, and I was done in like 5 minutes. So whether it took you 2 hours or whether it took you a couple of minutes, the point, the fact is you use DVC points to stay at the Polynesian Tower, where these rack rates are off insanely expensive. So if you're a brand new member for the first time and you say book 3 or 4 nights, I implore you, go look to see how much it would cost you if you were not a Disney Vacation Club member, and you will be so pleased.
Yeah, we didn't book anything.
True.
We didn't book anything
today.
No, yeah. So we are out of Polynesian point. So we have a February use year. So we don't have any February 2025 points coming up without borrowing into 2026. So we kind of, especially with Polynesian, we put ourselves in the Derek bucket, in which constant borrowing. So it took a lot of restraint not to book anything today. And I think the biggest reason for that is because we do have reservations that we've booked so that we can all experience these rooms on the grand opening date. We've got a duo studio, we've got a deluxe studio, we've got a 2-bedroom that week. So we're going to cover everything. The only thing that we did not splurge for was the 2-bedroom penthouse. And that gives me an opportunity to pull up the point charts real quick, which are so small, I'm not sure I can actually read them. But the 2-bedroom penthouse definitely is the ultimate splurge. I think it goes up to like 220 some points per night in the peak season. It's hilarious at the moment. It's hilarious watching Derek right now on a different screen try to put his glasses on. You can't even see it with the glasses. I'm just making guesses here, Derek, at what this is saying. Because I can't.
I don't have enough points for a whole night there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
Can I stay till 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah, stay till 3 a.m.
So maybe we'll do like kind of a big DVC fan event sometime and get the penthouse villa. The other interesting thing that they did with these point charts is that they actually changed the view types at the Polynesian villas and bungalows. So we have standard view, preferred view, we have premium view, and theme park view. Premium view is only subject to the duo studios, which is very odd to me that they made a subcategory just specific to duo studios in terms of view type. Preferred view is actually for the deluxe studios that used to be a lake view, the existing longhouse studios that used to be a lake view. They are actually moving to this preferred view category. Some rumblings out there about, are they potentially going to kind of rearrange the point charts? Are they going to kind of reallocate points and change up what those longhouses do, potentially bring down the point cost of the bungalows?
They can't. Yeah, if they do, it can't be 2020 until 2026 because we've got 2025 charts already.
Yeah. So we will get 2026 charts here coming out in December, but it remains to be seen. And I really don't think they'll rock the boat, at least for the first couple years. This is a win for them. They needed a win. They wanted a win. Let's just call it a win.
And as much as I would love for the bungalows to go from 389 points a night to 388, it's just probably not going to affect my life that much.
Right. Yeah, they're just so expensive that a couple points won't rock the boat on those, but a couple points added to the studios or other,
Yes.
categories could. So
Yeah.
yeah, probably not going to see any significant.
So
Hey,
we
hey,
kicked off.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
we're talking about going there for the grand opening. Forgive me if I don't know this, and I probably should. Have they announced when we're going to be able to make like dining reservations or anything like that?
Great question.
It's a wonderful question, and no, they have not. So
Okay.
the 60-day mark would be coming up here. Actually, as of the time of this show airing, it would have already passed. So it remains to be seen as to when the new restaurant, which I'm going to butcher its pronunciation, but I think it's Wailulu or Wailulu, something like that.
Wailulu or something.
Yeah, I know I messed
We
that
had
up.
looked it up the night that we
but
covered that information.
so the moment you
That's
know,
right.
Derek, I will know, and we'll all know, and we'll have a reservation for 12.
No even need. I will already put in an order for some pub subs, and we'll be completely fine and just sit at the pool.
Can you just actually no? Panda can whip up a mean lasagna in our 2-bedroom, and we can kind of have a Italian feast and go all
We
out.
should do that.
Yeah.
We should do that.
That'd be fun.
Moving from the Hurricane Milton conversation that we had at the beginning of the show, back when Amy and I were across the sea in Spain, there was Hurricane Helene was coming towards Florida at that moment, and at the same time, our very own Old Key Jeff was headed to Coronado Springs for the first ever
Oh my goodness.
quarterly Condo Association meeting for Disney Vacation Club members. And the two questions I have, Jeff, are what was the average age of people in the room? And number two is, did they have free cookies?
Great questions on both accounts. I will say this. I was the youngest person in the room by a good 20 years, I think. So Corey might be right.
They were separate, right? He went to the Old Key West one.
Yes, every resort
Correct.
had its own
Okay.
time frame.
Can you give a estimate of about how many people were in the room for the Old Key West?
There were less than a dozen in my
Okay.
meeting. Yeah,
somebody
there's probably
somebody
8.
had posted, and I can't remember what the resort was, but they were the only ones that went.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't remember what the resort was.
it's like a one-on-one with a DVC
Yeah,
exec.
they basically had like a one-on-one. So I imagine in Old Key West probably has, it's large, so it probably
Yeah.
has a lot of members. It has an older member base because it has a lot of original members. So they feel very invested. So they're probably more likely to go. I imagine a lot of these other resorts don't have like Riviera or, you know what I mean? Like, how many people do you think showed up for those? Because they're newer and I don't know.
Yeah. So Jeff, give us.
I think the campground had a total of 2 possible attendees.
Jeff, give us a rundown of kind of what was discussed. So
Wait, he never answered about the cookies. I'm sorry.
There
I
were
know
no
you want to move on.
There were no
cookies.
Hush.
no
There was
cookies.
no-
And they wonder why no
Oh.
one's. They wonder why no one's.
You
going.
wonder, yeah. And so Amy and I's experience with this is we've only been to. This is the first time they've done this because of a change on the state level here in Florida as to how timeshares have to operate. But they moved from yearly meetings to quarterly meetings. Now, typically they have the yearly meeting in December. It's at the Contemporary. They're still going to do that. It's probably going to be a showcase. And we'll get to what they're probably going to showcase as our next news topic. But these meetings historically, when it comes to a condo association meeting, they are very specific as to what questions they allow to be asked and what questions they specifically will answer. So, Jeff, give us a rundown of kind of just how the meeting went and what kind of things were discussed.
Yeah, and so I just want to go out there. If you have the opportunity, if you happen to be in town or if you're local, to go to one of these, because I felt that this was a very different experience than that annual meeting that we've all gone to in December. And I asked 2 questions because there was only 8 of us and only 3 of us asked any questions. And so one of the questions I did ask was if they were still going to do kind of the showcase annual thing. And they did say yes, they're still kind of going through what that's going to look like. But they did say that these quarterly condo meetings will happen even to December leading up to that. And then like the last day will kind of be a showcase so that they can announce whatever they're going to announce and everybody can be involved. It started out just like any other condo or HOA associated meeting, approving the minutes, approving the board, which is them essentially approving themselves. Those kinds of things. It's the regular attendees, Bill Dirksen and the team. But that really, and each one of these was limited to 30 minutes. That first part lasted about 10, and they really did open up questions to anybody that wanted to ask anything. I will say this for people that have never been, if you want to go to one of these quarterly ones, because it was way more resort specific. The annual one was very abstract, just kind of a DVC overall, where this was a localized, this is what we're doing with your dues. This quarter, we put new furniture in the lobby. We made some of the basketball courts into pickleball courts. We refurbished the gift shop. It was very specific to this is what we are doing for your resort, rather than kind of that abstract, annual. I almost felt like it was a punt. They never really gave us details about how the money was being spent. And so I thought it was very interesting. It was way more fun than the annual one because you didn't really get any good information, where this one was, this is how we're actually spending your dues. This is what your dues are paying for. One of the interesting questions that came up by the gentleman ahead of me was about the upcoming refurb in a few years, and if they're going to be switching out the 2 queens for the queen and a Murphy bed. And it was interesting because they didn't have an answer. The only thing that one of the designers that was there said, we're having a problem with the Murphy beds because of the way those studios are designed with the big windows.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
They don't know how to fit them in that room. So they didn't come right out and say one way or the other, but I got the feeling the takeaway was maybe not, because they just don't have a way to do it. It might stay a sofa bed type situation. But it was, I know, like I said, if people really want to know how their money is being spent, it was kind of interesting to go and see, this is what we're actually doing for your resort, rather than a corporate wide kind of phone in.
I do have a third question before we get to Derek is, did anyone call you Old Key Jeff in the meeting?
As a matter of fact,
Yes.
and not to toot our own horn, but it was actually one of the DVC directors. Which tells me this validates the 5 of us. Most of the time we do this, it's the 5 of us talking. We don't know who is going to listen from week to week. But the fact that Disney's watching and knew who I was kind of validating that maybe we have the tiniest little bit of influence on their decisions.
As far as we know, it's the 5 of us talking to each other and our dogs. Those are the only people that are listening. But
and I had a long conversation with it. And Paul, the name I've already forgotten. Steve Whittington.
Yeah.
Anyway, very nice guy, and he talked about the world of DVC company as a whole, and it was really cool because everybody, with the exception of Bill Dirksen, took time to sit and talk with the 8 people that were in the room, and because our thing was 30 minutes long and it was over in about 17, they took the full half hour. Like if anybody wanted to stay and hang out and talk, they were willing to do that, shake hands, and it was interesting. It was very cool.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Do they check like your credentials to make sure you own at that resort before you can get in?
So you had to register online ahead of time, and they did verify that registration was there.
Okay, so that would have been done during the registration process.
Derek, you had a question?
I did. I was just curious, and maybe it's been said or maybe it hasn't. Is there a place to go online to see the, quote unquote, minutes from each resort? Like, did anyone compile them, or did DVC publish them internally saying, hey, for those of you who couldn't make it, Bay Lake Tower owners, here's what we talked about, or here's what we, got asked or whatnot? I was just curious.
I know historically they have compiled information like that on the website after the larger meeting that they do every year. I'm not quite sure. I would assume that they legally have to do
Condominium
some sort
Association news and notes. I know,
so
cut that word off too fast.
Yeah, just in kind of looking through the website right now, I
Meeting
don't
notes.
see anything that specifically indicates
they had them all already.
Yeah, so all of them were done at the same time.
I do think legally they have to record something.
Yeah, but it's they're still trying to upload the 2022 digital versions of the Disney Files magazine to this website, so it may take them a little bit longer than normal for them to get those updates out there. But I would kind of expect them to get some of that information up here. If you click on like the
what was
2020,
interesting. Oh, sorry, Paul.
I was just going to say, if you click on like the 2022 or 2023 information on the Condo Association news page on the Disney Vacation Club website, you will see kind of highlights of the 2022 and 2023 meeting. So I would assume that they would have to do this in some capacity with the new quarterly meetings as well.
Yeah, and I was just going to finish up by saying, it was interesting to me. Old Key West, when I asked how many of these that I'd already done, Old Key West was at the tail end. They only had like 2 more to go, I think they said. I think one of them was Vero, and I don't remember what the other one was. But you could tell that they kind of had gotten a feel for kind of what to expect from the people that showed up by the time they got to us. So I imagine the next go round, next quarter in December, they're really going to have it dialed in as to, how it works. But they made it very clear that, again, those were going to lead up to the big December. You'll still get your cookies in December with the big showcase. And
I don't even remember any cookies. We must not.
Well, we went during the years
left.
of the pandemic, and they didn't have cookies the
no,
years we
got
went, sadly. So
got the shaft on the cookies.
Yeah, we missed the cookies. But it is interesting. I would be curious to hear if any of the Condo Association quarterly meetings got a little spicy, and maybe there were some heated discussions. I know that has happened. We've written about it before, as in terms of the yearly meetings, and that's Jeff, to your point, where they really differ is that historically in the yearly meeting, and I think it is because it's a more global meeting and several hundred people attend all at once, they state at the beginning of the Q&A period, they do their showcase, they do their kind of business meeting, which is all scripted, which is all pre-planned. You have no say on anything regarding that. That's all done and dusted. But then they get to the Q&A portion, they specifically state, we will only answer questions that are related to the annual dues budgets that have been proposed for approval to the board. And that is it. And you'll get these people that come up to the microphone and they'll do a 5-minute, dissertation about, why the buses, they're upset because people at the water parks get on the buses and then they get soggy, and whatever it is that they complain about, they will do, and they expect some kind of answer. And it's really this boilerplate. I'm sorry, we're restricting our Q&A period to, questions about. So it is very refreshing to hear that they're being receptive to kind of answering some more of these questions, and that they're prepared to kind of do that in these settings. So I agree exactly with what you said, Jeff, which is if you are here and it aligns with one of these, take the time, because I think it just highlights what you have spent your money on and kind of what you're a part of.
Yeah, and on top of that too, it was, I don't think the questions would have been free reign, but they were pretty forgiving about, people voicing concerns, questions. One of the gentlemen were asking for more handrails and stuff, like more accessible type stuff in the bathrooms. And they were explained, well, we have a certain number of rooms to that. We can't do it for everybody because of this and this. Like, they're really good about answering the questions that were brought up that were resort specific. Now, I think if people would have said, what are the Polynesian point charts going to be, they definitely would have shut that down. But when it was specific to the resort, they were very good about answering those questions. So
I wish I was at that boardwalk one, because I would have asked and I would have demanded an answer and say, why is that corn dog pickle dog so terrible? That's all I want to know. Why is it?
I'm sorry,
terrible?
Derek. We can only talk about the budget. Sorry.
I didn't even have this on our news radar this week, but can we talk a little bit about the Cake Bake Shop, since we're talking about? We're talking
seriously though.
Yes, I would pay $23 for an egg sandwich if it's very good.
What degree is very good? Like,
it's got to be big, fluffy, smell good, have bacon. I crunch it. Yeah, okay, $23. I'm in.
So I'm serious about this though, because
is that how much the egg sandwich is?
What Panda is saying though is what I've heard.
The shrimp po' boy is like $36.
What Panda is saying is what I've heard the intent of this place is. The intent is that it is an elevated food experience that is going to be food and options that are not on the level that you are accustomed to with Disney. So that is how they are justifying their outrageous prices.
Yeah, that is just what I want at the end of a long, hot, sweaty day in Epcot, is to climb into some like velvet padded booth and order an $80 hamburger and a $13, $14, $15, $16, $20 beer. Sounds amazing. I can't wait. I literally give it 1 year. 1 year and it's gone. 1 year.
That
One
is-
year,
that is
and
my
Derek
prediction
is
as
its
well.
biggest fan. Watch.
Well, we know the Cake Bake Shop has been undergoing some soft opening here over the course of this week. We even saw some people report on the DVC Fan Facebook group getting a golden
Yeah, they're
ticket.
giving out like Willy Wonka tickets.
Yeah.
And
So
get like free cake and stuff.
yeah, getting to go in and get like a free cake and coffee. So they're doing some PR right now, but I would expect this to be open within a week, if not sooner. I
want to try it. I just want to see.
We have to try it. Yeah,
We will
wanna
try it.
see
We will try
what
it. We will all go.
Yeah, what they're doing to justify those prices.
I'm gonna make Derek sit
But
in
I can't see
Epcot all
going
day
very
before we go, and I'm gonna if they have a velvet booth,
honestly,
I will request it. Like
a bakery in France for $10, you get the best egg bacon croissant I've ever had. So I don't think for $23 they can do it, but I do want to try.
Well,
Yeah,
and I
I-
keep going back to like Amy was saying, the $36 po' boy. You can go next door and get a full meal at Trattoria for $31, and it's the nice, delicious lasagna that they have over there. You know, we're talking. I just
Yeah.
don't know, and I know this is the third-party restaurant; it's not a Disney-owned restaurant, but I just kind of feel like they didn't do their market research because, like Derek is saying, food's already expensive at Disney, and we've kind of grown accustomed to that, and we've accepted it. You know, $18 for chicken tenders. I do it every week. I don't enjoy doing it, but I do it every week. There's nothing on this menu that I'm like, oh, that's got to be worth a home equity loan in order to go and eat it.
And I think so too, Jeff, that I think people's anger, and especially those people that love the boardwalk where I bought, 20 some years ago, is the fact that, okay, if you want to take away ESPN and you want to put this place here, that's fine. But for the love of God, put something at Big River Grill. Put something there that if I want to go and watch a sporting event, if I want to just have a bowl full of nachos, and if I just want to get a beer and I just want to get, whatever, give me that. But I don't have that. So now I have the Cake Bake Shoppy. Like, that's what I have. Like, when I'm there, give me something at Big River.
And I kind of feel like the look of it, the uniforms that the employees are, that they've kind of showed online a little bit. I'm like, this feels very Grand Floridian to me. Like, is this the chef from Victoria and Albert's coming down and whipping up some sandwiches? Because that's the feeling I get. I feel like I don't belong in there. I'm with Derek. Give me a burger at Big River Grill.
I have said that all along, is that outside of kind of a whimsical element to it, it feels a little bit out of place. Now, I was told a little bit over 3 years ago or more now, and I don't know that we've seen any pictures inside of this place, but I was told that there was going to be a large carousel feature at somewhere in here, which would tie in the boardwalk element a little bit. But I was also told that element was going to be up top and could be visible from the outside too.
And that's
so
not, yeah.
unless they have those windows up top kind of blacked out right now, and that's going to like highlight itself in the coming days, or maybe it's a big feature once you go in the restaurant and it's there. Or did the epic budget cuts that happen to basically any Disney project happen, and that didn't get realized? But I completely agree where this concept seems more Grand Floridian-esque versus Boardwalk-esque. And that's the part with the menu that's been released so far that I've been the most surprised about, because one of our biggest regrets when it comes to Disney that we never got to do was the Grand Floridian tea room. And do the tea with the sandwiches and the cakes and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I expected with Cake Bake Shop, is to have that option on the menu. And I either have not looked and seen that option, or it hasn't existed. Like, that's your market. Like, would I pay $80 for an afternoon tea? Probably. Like, but I think it would be a cool thing to experience. And you're going to hit a big market with people that want to take their kids and do something of that nature. The only place on property that I know of that does something even remotely like that is over
Waldorf
at the Waldorf Astoria.
Mhm.
So, Grand Floridian's never brought that back. So I don't know if that's going to be an offering, but like that's where your money is, I feel like, with this place, is to really get someone roped in with that full package meal or that full package, afternoon tea versus the, $150 egg sandwich, which
Goes up in price every time you
there's
say
nothing you can do to an egg sandwich.
I'm just okay. The French onion soup is $20 for a bowl, and you can go to Steakhouse
Really?
70, $20 for a bowl. They have a cup for less, but you can get a bowl of French onion soup at Steakhouse 71 for $10. So I'm just, what can you put in to a French onion soup that makes it worth $20? I mean, it's onion.
There's a $10 bill on the side of it.
That's what you drugs. probably.
I'm
I
going to
just
try
think
it.
Paul just totally nailed it, because it's the fact of, I want to know all the countless meetings that were had where they talked about this. And the menu prices came up in discussion, and did not one person say, listen, one of the biggest complaints that people have about going to Disney World is the food is too expensive, right? So do you know what we should do? We should make it like triple the cost of what similar items are. And we should have people dress up in like fancy white suits.
Now,
That's going to make
apparently-
families. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me. It's crazy.
It is crazy, but apparently these prices are correct for the cake bake shops in other locations. It's not like they're more because of Disney as well.
They are a little bit more, but they're close. We're talking like $4 more for the French onion soup bowl.
Yeah, because a lot of our World of DVC family actually works in Indianapolis. Our corporate headquarters is in Indianapolis. That is where the Cake Bake Shop originates from.
Oh,
and
There's
so
2 locations.
We've heard from a lot of people there. It's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful restaurant. It's a wonderful experience. But even when you look at the prices there, you go, they're a little high. Well, I would say on average these are 10 to 20% higher. So you've slapped a Disney premium on top of those prices. Maybe the clientele exists where this place does it. It's such a big venue though that it would be very surprised. I mean, if ESPN Club failed there, I have to imagine that I don't know. I want it to survive. I want things to do well. I want places to thrive at Disney. But this is not what you want associated with your grand opening, is people making these assumptions and questions. And
the price is the absolute first
the
thing
price
people
is the
talk about.
lead. If that's the lead, something's not right. So,
Well, and I keep going back to, what you said a second ago, Paul, about if it was like a tea that was like a kind of a cool, unique experience. I get what you're saying there, and that would be cool to do, but it would be cool for me personally to do once. That's not a repeat thing for me personally.
Mhm.
And so I don't know that even that can save these kind of outrageous prices, especially we're talking prices that you normally would probably get like a character experience of some kind or something like that. I keep making the joke in our moderator chat. You got $4,000. You can either A, buy some points at the Poly, B, go on a week cruise in Europe, or C, take your family of 4 to the Cake Bake Shop for dinner. Because, I don't know. I'm with Derek. I think this is going to last a year, and you'll see it convert into something else. Predictions. Write it down.
I wanted to pull this up too because
Go down to the French onion soup.
it's a very comparable option, and some of us have PTSD with this. Shula's over at the Swan and Dolphin. French onion soup, $15.
Yeah.
$5 cheaper.
It's cheaper at Shula's.
And Shula's
Which-
raked us over the coals.
They took us
Oh
for a
my
ride at
God.
Shula's.
Yeah.
Most of us are still paying that bill off. But
That's what it feels like.
but their French onion soup,
Fresh onion
soup is cheaper at Shula's. So nice sidebar conversation. We didn't even have that kind of on our list of topics tonight, but I figure it was appropriate, and we will definitely go. As much as we're complaining about it, we're going to go check it out because I want to see if Panda if that egg sandwich meets
Me
your
too. I
expectations.
want to see it
Fluffy,
too. I want
bacon. I don't remember the
There
rest
were a
of it.
lot of descriptors in
But
there.
the one in France is amazing. So they would have to do a lot to make it worth double the price. More than
I'm gonna
double.
make him an egg sandwich and bring it to his house and
I was
demand
thinking
$32.
egg salad, but it's like a breakfast
23.
item.
Don't transpose the numbers.
Let's end this news episode with probably the worst kept secret in all of Disney Vacation Club at the moment. And if there's anything that we expect to be discussed at this year's feature presentation in December at the quarterly association meeting, or at their kind of, I don't even know what they're going to call it now. Is it a gala? Is it a showcase? Probably a
It's not
DVC.
a gala.
DVC show. A DVC gala would be fun though. They used to do a lot of fun events.
Oh, I know, like the Mother's Day
brunch,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, Easter
Oh, yeah.
brunch,
Or Easter. It was Easter.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, bring those back, DVC, please.
Right. We'd love to do that.
We would love to do those things. But yeah, at this year's DVC showcase in December, if this is not announced, then I think all of us will be very shocked as to how they're going to explain what they're doing over at the former Reflections property any longer.
You can tell like this concept art is so old that car looks like it's from the 90s. The one on the right
That
side.
is true.
Does look like an older car there, but there has been so many permits over the past 6 months that have been filed at the former Reflections property, which is right up against Fort Wilderness, and there are now kind of machines moving dirt and things happening. And there's a permit for a crane that even needed an FAA permit because it is that tall that is going to sit there for the next year. And so all of that being said,
Right. They're not planting grass.
yeah, the grass ain't happening anymore. I'm sorry for those river country fans out there that are still hoping that they're building a river country again. But I think that we are seeing what most people are referring to as Reflections 2.0 becoming a reality at this point. Does anyone here disagree with that?
No, and when I was at the condo meeting, that was one of my 2 questions that I asked. I tried to get them to bite and they weren't having it, but I approached it with
What was their response?
So what I said to them was, I'm like, I know a lot of us really like the December meeting because that's usually when we get teasers of what's happening next, kind of like the permits that were recently filed on the old Reflections site, if anybody wants to comment. And everybody there was crickets, and they just all kind of looked at each other, and that was it. They didn't even respond.
They didn't even say any words.
Funny you
There was
mention
no
that.
word.
I was told by a source, it was a month or more ago, that there was a slip up during the Mediterranean member cruise this year, where there was an executive that did basically kind of let it slip that Reflections was greenlit and that they were moving forward with that project, which I've not had any firsthand, confirmation of that
take
story.
that for what
so
it
take
is.
that for what it's worth. But everything adds up now. There's nothing I don't believe about what's happening at this site now. The only question that remains is, do we completely keep the Reflections plan as it is? Call it Reflections, keep the theming the same. They were talking about Princess and the Frog themed lakeside restaurant that was going to be there. I'm sure that they're still going to do kind of the lakeside cabins and everything. We talked about this. We talked about this back during the D23 show because we were surprised that they really didn't. I had an article written and I was convinced that they were going to announce it at D23, or at least have it as like one of those like quick announcements that then we get more details on later. But I think that they are definitely doing something at the property.
Say, don't you have visuals?
Yeah, BioReconstruct over on Twitter or X, whatever you call it these days, actually recently did a flyover of the Reflections construction site. And this is the current look of what is happening there, which there is a lot more material. There is a lot more activity than has been there over the course of the past 4 years, ever since this project got shut down during the pandemic. All of this looked like grass. They basically, I remember when the pandemic happened a couple months later, they sprayed it like a lime green, which was them spraying it with grass seed over this entire area. So There is, multiple people have reported there's active construction work going on. You can see at the top of this image that yellow buoy that is out there in the lake. That is a construction barrier so that no debris or anything gets out there. But I took a little extra time today and looked at some of the older artwork in terms of some of the older permitting that was out there. And this was kind of the fun thing for me, is that if you overlay the old kind of concept art, like these things line up perfectly. Those roads line up perfectly. The outline of the building lines up perfectly. Like they are building this project that they had planned for this resort area. There's a little bit of an extension off to the right, and I apologize for our audio listeners that can't see this image right now. But basically, we have the original construction drawings of where this property was sitting, overlaid over Bio Reconstruct's aerial photography, and just everything kind of adds up in terms of the outlines that they've already put into the ground and the dirt and everything that they've moved so far. They've basically outlined the building as it exists there already. And so I think it fully points to they plan to build this resort. It's just a question as to what they call it. So to kind of close us out today, I wanted to basically go around the room and ask, do you think it's going to be Reflections, or do you think they're going to call it something else and kind of revamp the theming of what they are building here next to Fort Wilderness? Panda, I'll start with you.
This comes from absolutely no knowledge of this, obviously. I think if they imagineered it right the first time, why not call it Reflections? I think it's a nice name. I think it's good for the area, the whole nature thing. So I would think they'd keep it, but who the heck knows?
I think the name needs to go. Sorry, Panda. It got too much made fun of. Yep. And it's too wordy, right? So we've got Grand Flirting Resort, Riviera Resort, Reflections, a lakeside lodge. Just Disney's Lakeside Lodge. Bam.
There you go, Disney. Disney's Lakeside Lodge. It's as simple as that.
DLL.
Jeff, give us your thoughts.
I'm with Amy. I think they probably will keep it. I hope that they don't. And I also kind of don't want the themed restaurant. I know I'm probably in the minority there, but if you think about it, most of the resorts don't really have that. There's maybe some subtleness, like Citrico's, for example, has kind of some Mary Poppins-ish feel to it, but it's not called the Mary Poppins restaurant. So I hope they go a little less on the theming and a little more on the food.
The man most excited about a new Disney Vacation Club property, Derek.
I can't wait. No, I'm actually with Amy 100%. I think they're definitely going to build it, but I do not think it will be called Reflections, because she literally took the words out of my mouth. I remember there was so much feedback from people that, people were like, it sounds weird. It sounds like a rehab facility, or like a place to go for an addiction problem. What is it? I don't know. They just caught
to reflect on your choices.
True fact. They caught a lot of slack for that name. No one disliked what it looked like. I think if it's going to look different from what it did before, because I still do believe that they took some of those original materials and put them over to the Island Tower is what I think. So yeah. I think it will be a resort. I think it will have a different name. Like Amy said, I would think it's going to somehow tie in with Boulder and with Copper. So, not obviously the same association, but I think meaning in terms of, a great pathway or transportation to kind of get. So then you have this almost like you do, when people say, oh, I'm on the monorail loop, and I love it because I've got 3 resorts. You could almost say, well, I'm at the Bay Lake loop. So I'm here and I have Wilderness, I have Copper, I have Boulder, and now I have the resort that will get a name later. So that's what I think.
Well, and we've talked about this before, but I mean, it's adjacent to Fort Wilderness, right? So Lakeside Lodge at Fort Wilderness would be okay.
That sounds pretty good.
And I do think that it will tie in to that the DVC property, the cabins, because they've got to do something to bring those dues under control. As far as the cabins go, I think if they can tie that into the same association, I'm just guessing. This is not official by any means, but I think they almost have to.
Yeah,
Jeff is 100% right, and I think we've talked about it on like previous shows that they've got to do something for people that say, okay, the cabin. I mean, I like the woods and I like the area, but so if I buy here, my only option is to stay in these modified trailers. Like, do you guys have like 1 bedrooms or like regular studios or 2 bedrooms? So I think if they can do it for the Poly and have it go under the same association, if they can put this resort under the same as Fort Wilderness, so if you buy Fort Wilderness, you also buy whatever the lodge is called with studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. I think that's a no-brainer.
I think you double down on the Fort Wilderness concept completely, and even maybe tie in a frontier land element. Then you can kind of appease the people that are mad as to what's happening over at Frontierland with the Cars Land element being kind of brought into that property. So really just double down.
Tom Sawyer's Island pool.
There you go. But I think I think you go with that. I think the nature element just is not, the reflections concept, as you all said, and I know you said, Amy, it just got so much flack. And I think if you bring that back, it's going to be like Cake Bake Shop. It's like you don't want that to lead the story of the conversation. So it has also been 4 years or 5. It's been 6 years since actually Reflections originally was, released and brought up at the D23. It's been a long time. So it's one thing to keep the same shell and shape of the building and keep all of that the same, change the interior theming, have someone come in, redesign it. The rooms relatively can be the same, but change the theming, change the artwork, all of that. It's an easy fix. And I think a big win for them to do so.
And I think you nailed it too, Paul, is to call it, people will. If they call it Reflections, it will be Reflections 2.0, which gets people to go, well, what happens to Reflection 1.0? Oh, well, they never built it. So it almost has this weird stink
connotation.
Stigma, yeah.
Yep. Well, hopefully they won't leave us hanging at the December Condo Association Showcase Gala. And
gala.
And
he really wants a gala.
And they'll let us know what's happening over at the Reflection site, or if they're just moving dirt around for fun. But let us know in the comments of this video kind of your thoughts as it relates to Polynesian, any of these topics that we've covered. As always, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our DVC Fan YouTube channel. It does the world for us and lets people see these smiling faces more on their television screen or in their audio podcast ears. So, but thanks as always for joining us, and we will see you with a new episode of the DVC show next Monday.
See you at the Cake Bake Shop.